Howdy YouTube, today we're taking a look at the Jakks Series 6 from UFC 92, Frank Mir. And I'm also going to break down the recent Fight Night 71 match between Frank Mir and Todd Duffee. So for those who don't want any spoilers, you can skip to the part where I take a look at the back of the packaging and then open this guy up. But as of now, I'm going to start talking about the actual Fight Night. I'll talk about some of the other fights. Honestly, a pretty boring card. A lot of the fights, the one I was looking forward to, Holly Holm, was a really disappointing and boring fight. I was expecting a lot more. Just turned into a kicking battle, and not even taekwondo battle, because the kicks were just sort of the standard side kick, push kick from Holly Holm, followed by roundhouses by both girls. Honestly, really disappointed in that fight. The one after that with Tony Ferguson was pretty awesome fight. Really, really good battle there. Nice striking. But the main event is, of course, what I'm going to talk about now, and that was Frank Mir, a veteran of the Octagon, two-time UFC champ, interim champ several times as well, I believe, having just a real career resurgence at the moment. Going into his last fight against Bigfoot, I thought Bigfoot was going to monster Mir. Prior to that, Overeem destroyed Frank Mir with just some brutal elbows, ground and pound. And I thought there's no way Mir's ever going to be the same. Just the battles he's been in, he's caught beatings from Lesnar, beatings from Dos Santos, beatings from just so many Overeem, so many tough UFC fighters. And he had a big long break, and he's just come back in a massive resurgence, which tends to be his trademark. Same thing happened after he had his motorcycle accident. He took some time off and came back strong. So very, very impressive. Honestly, running through the fight with Todd Duffee, Duffee's a relatively unknown guy in the sense that he's not in the top 10 and not a highly ranked fighter. He was trying to obviously prove that he's the young gun working his way up the UFC card. But Mir put him down really well. Mir stood toe-to-toe with a great striker and basically slugged it out and ended up getting him with a beautiful left hook. At first, I had no clue what happened, but then on the replay from a different angle, able to see just great boxing by Mir. He's really improved his game. He's a little bit like Fabricio Werdum, great submission fighter, but has really developed and improved his stand-up and boxing skills. So I was really, really impressed by Mir. He did a phenomenal job. I think honestly, I'd like to see him verse Arlovski or Werdum, and I know that's a big jump, but the reason those two fights are things I want to see is that originally Mir was the champion at around UFC 40 or 45, around that mark. He had the motorcycle accident, got injured, so Arlovski at UFC 51, I believe, won the interim UFC championship. Mir obviously didn't recover in time, vacated the belt. Arlovski was promoted to the proper champion. But the two never actually ended up fighting, which is something I really would have liked to have seen. Both guys obviously have had their ups and downs, and they're both on a career resurgence, so I'd like to see them fight each other. The counter to that is also, I'd like to see Mir versus Werdum, and even though Mir isn't a top-ranked contender and there's a long line waiting for that championship shot, both are submission fighters, both have really improved their stand-up and boxing, and both have been in some real wars. So that's another match I think would be very interesting, just to see how Mir stacks up against a dominant Fabricio Werdum at the moment. But that's enough on the fight. Let's take a look at the Frank Mir figure. He comes in the standard Octagon-style packaging, which I was never a fan of, really big and bulky. This is the second Frank Mir figure we've gotten. The other one was released in a Brock Lesnar 2-pack. If you haven't seen my review on that, you can check that out. UFC 92 is pretty significant because that's when Mir beat Minotauro Nogueira for the interim championship. It was kind of a weird situation. You had Frank Mir as the champion, then Arlovski and Randy Couture. Randy basically refused to fight, or something happened, so they had an interim championship belt where Minotauro Nogueira beat Tim Sylvia for that. Then you had these two titles where basically Randy defended against Brock Lesnar as opposed to Minotauro Nogueira. So you had two separate titles. Mir beats Nogueira for the interim title, and Lesnar beats Couture for the heavyweight title, and then they unified at UFC 100. So it's a little bit of a roundabout, weird way of doing it, but still really, really fun to watch. And I'm glad that we've got Frank Mir from that particular attire. The head scan on this looks much better than the other Frank Mir figure we've got released as well. So let's get him opened up and out of packaging. Taking a look on the back, we see a nice shot of Frank Mir there. Other figures in the set, of course, are the legend Bas Rutten, Randy Couture, Tito Ortiz, Mir, of course, George St. Pierre, Clay Guida, Thiago Alves, and Jens Pulver. Honestly, that's actually a pretty strong wave for Series 6. Most of those are awesome figures and big-name UFC fighters, or now Bellator fighters as well. So, pretty cool. The stats on the back tell us that Mir fights out of Las Vegas, Nevada, of course. He's 6'3", so he's a big guy, 240 pounds. I believe in his most recent fight he was 263, so he's certainly bulked up. But let's get this opened up. Okay, and here we have Frank Mir opened up and out of packaging, and certainly one of the cooler UFC heavyweight figures we've gotten. I'll bring it forward so you guys can take a look at the face. I think Jakks absolutely nailed the face. Sometimes it's a little bit of a hit and miss with their figures. Some are awesome, others are pretty bad. But this one's actually pretty good. I prefer this face a lot more than the UFC 100 Frank Mir, which I'll bring in for comparison. That looks nothing like Frank Mir. I mean, it's got the goatee, yes, but just the face, the facial sculpt really doesn't. I don't know, just doesn't to me resemble Frank Mir. This one here, on the other hand, definitely does. And one thing that's a bit of a shame too is, hopefully if my camera cooperates, there we go, is that the skin color is actually quite different on these guys. This one's a much paler skin tone. This one's a little bit more tan, which is a shame because it would have been great to swap the head off this and put it on the body of this, because this one, which you'll see in a moment, is a lot more current in terms of Frank Mir's appearance. So I'll put him down for now, and we'll take a look at the rest of this particular one. I think moving through, the tattoos are the same on the figures, at least on the front and the body. And taking a look, one thing that is good about this guy is Mir lately, his last few fights, has been wearing the white trunks. As you can see there, he's got the same sponsors that he's had for quite some time. All that has changed now with the new UFC Reebok deal, which actually I don't mind too much. I mean, I know the fighters obviously are getting less money, and that's pretty upsetting. But at the same time, the actual attire and the outfits that they're coming out with, I think, look really awesome. So I'm actually a fan visually of how it looks. Taking a look further down, there's not much there, but we'll take a look at his tattoos on the back. One thing that I really like on this figure too is that I think they did a really good job on Frank Mir, giving him the slick back hair. He doesn't really have this hair that much. He tends to have the curly, fuzzy hair, which is present on this. I just wish they had the face of this with the hair of this one. That would have been a perfect figure. There's just something about it. I think it's too small, or there's something about this Mir face that just really bothers me. Taking a look at the back, you can see obviously the tattoos are very, very different. The tattoos look a lot nicer on the previously released 2-pack Frank Mir. I'll try and zoom in so you guys can take a look at the detail. You can see on the on this one, it's more accurate. It's kind of that tattooed mess that he's got going on at the moment. Looks like a feudal Japan scene. Looks like a samurai hacking someone there. You've got the octagon cage at the back. You've got Mir tattooed at the top. I don't know why he has that there. But you know, each to their own, I suppose. And then taking a look at this particular figure, you can see there's less tattoos, but I guess that means we get a little bit more detail. It's a tiger there on the right, and then some Japanese, I assume, characters. Not sure what they mean, but not a bad figure overall. So overall, I'm a huge fan of this particular Frank Mir figure. I think it's the best Frank Mir figure that we've gotten out of the two. The only downside to it is the tan skin color and not being able to swap the heads. And the bigger problem is the lack of back tattoos. So it's an earlier Frank Mir, yes, which I guess is a bit of a shame that we haven't got a more current version. But definitely, in terms of the facial scan and everything, it's an awesome figure. If you're a fan of Frank Mir, then this is the one that you want to be picking up. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed this review on the Jakks UFC 92 Frank Mir.